This podcast is sponsored by the Fireman Moving Company. The Moving Company is the official moving company of WKU Athletics. Not only can they be trusted to move all the coaches in and out of Western, but they can move you anywhere nationwide. The Fireman Moving Company is owned and operated by firemen and is founded by WKU alumni. If you are looking to move sometime soon, give them a call at 270-791-1755 and get yourself a free quote. Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk. All right, welcome back, and thank you for downloading another episode of the Topper Talk podcast. We are the official podcast of the Red Towel Trust Collective, and we're a proud member of the College Huddle podcast community, the largest fan-driven podcast community on the internet. As always, feel free to follow us on all of our social media accounts. Check out our YouTube channel. Feel free to subscribe over there and keep up with every episode as we drop them. We got Tyler here with me, man. You ready to dive in? We've got an episode.
This is going to be an episode and a half, boy, but let's get into it.
But before we get into the game recap, we've got to get caught up with our Red Towel wrap-up, which catches us up with all the athletics that we've missed since we last recorded, and as always, is brought to us by Trent Bedding Company.
Don't forget your headboards, pillows, and your sheets. We got everything you need for a good night's sleep. Number one on the same check, best of Bowling Green.
All right. Hey! Twins, full, queen and king, mattresses for anything. Come and pick it out and we can bring it to your house. Have you sleeping real good before the weekend's out. Trent Bedding. It's just like a mattress store. Hey.
It's just like a mattress store. But starting off, WKU Volleyball, they are receiving votes in the AVCA Top 25.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming. We were preseason ranked in the top 25. Had a really rough non-conference schedule. Dropped, I think, 4 out of our first 6 matches and dropped out of the top 25 against some really tough competition. But we knew then when we were talking about those losses that, by the time we got to conference play, we'd be fine. And now here we sit at the end of conference play with another undefeated regular season. I think it's 92 consecutive matches in Conference USA play that we've won. So definitely deserve to be receiving votes. Might not get into the top 25, but just to get that recognition and to climb back from where we started and then got knocked out of the top 25. I'm proud of this team.
No, but for sure, this team is great. In fact, you kind of hinted towards it right there at the end. The volleyball team, they beat Liberty 3-0 on Thursday and 3-1 on Friday to earn the outright Conference USA regular season championship.
Yeah, it was really fun. I was there on Thursday night when they won that first game. By virtue of winning that game, they clinched the Conference USA regular season title, and after the game they brought the trophy out and celebrated on the court, took pictures with it. Got to post a really cool video of that on Instagram and TikTok, so if you haven't seen that, definitely check it out. It was fun to be there for that. Jeremiah, our friend from Liberty that lives down in Nashville, came up for that game and got to take it in as well and see a really good fun volleyball environment and match. And then Friday night, we completed another victory, honored some seniors with Kaylee Cox, Kennedy Coyle, Katie Howard, and Madison Chitty. Those girls have won a lot of games on that court, have meant a lot to this program. And that was the last time that we'll see them in competition in Diddle Arena. So really happy for them that they got to go out on top, winning another championship, and now looking forward to the upcoming Conference USA tournament.
Well, speaking of Kaylee Cox, she was named Conference USA Player of the Week, along with Callie Bowers. She was named Setter of the Week.
Yeah, I believe that is the 5th time that they've won those awards together. So it's kind of like death taxes and volleyball winning titles, death taxes, and those two girls being named Player of the Week and Setter of the Week, because they've just really helped lead this team. They've been really consistent players, and they've deserved all the accolades that they've collected this season.
Now, moving on, we have WKU. They always do Hall of Fame during the homecoming weekend, and this one was no different. WKU inducted Beth Lane from WKU women's basketball team, Mel Mitchell from the football team, Travis Hudson, and the entire 1974 NCAA runner-up cross-country team.
Yeah, really cool to see that event going on and get to watch, see pictures and videos from it. Women's basketball, we have a really rich history and tradition there. Mel Mitchell with the football team, he was playing back around when I first came to Western. And then Travis Hudson, the W Club had to, make some changes to the bylaws so that he could be an active coach and get inducted to the Hall of Fame. Really happy for him. And then the 1974 cross country team being the NCAA national runner up. I mean, that's a huge accomplishment and really, really well deserved for each of those teams and individuals getting inducted.
We're going to stay on Hudson for a little bit because this next one is huge, and we've called for it. Fans have been clamoring for it, but WKU announced that the statue to Travis Hudson will be unveiled in 2025.
Yeah, I mean, we personally, on this podcast have been saying that for a year and a half now. I went back and found some Twitter receipts from me saying it going back to 2017. And I'm sure probably even before that, I just did a quick search and found 2017 and quote retweeted that. So, very well deserved. I don't want to say long overdue, but this man has been coach here for 30 years. One of the all-time winningest coaches ever here on campus. Just it's hard to put into words what he's done. I think we kind of take it for granted just how great he is and how great that program is. And there's going to be a day someday when he leaves, and if that program falls off any, which it's inevitable, it's going to happen eventually. We're not going to win conference championships every single year. 6 in a row now that we've won in Conference USA. I think 10 of the last 11 or 12 of the last 13 overall, going back to our Sun Belt days. So just a ridiculous streak of winning. And he's earned every, a bit of appreciation and accolades and Hall of Fame. And now, he's going to have a statue. I'm assuming it's going to be near the E.A. Diddle statue out in front of Diddle Arena. So really happy and excited for him and very well deserved.
Moving on to the women's basketball, they faced first of all, they beat Mercer. And they met a familiar face in that game as they beat Michelle Clark Hurd 78-54.
Yeah, Michelle Clark Hurd, was a coach here, several years back, left us and went to Cincinnati, then has been on the administration side of things, but got back into coaching this offseason, coaching at Mercer. So that was kind of really fun because Greg Collins was on her staff when she was here and got promoted when she left. So kind of the pupil meeting the teacher, and Greg Collins got the best of her, man. And the women's team is looking really solid this year. I'm sure that Michelle Clark Hurd will have that Mercer team going in the right direction, either later this year, as she gets to recruit more. But that was a really good victory, and really like what I see, from our women's basketball team so far this year.
All right, now moving on to men's basketball. They beat Campbellsville 104-76.
Yeah, congratulations, Coach Plona, his first victory as a Hilltopper coach. We know he had kind of had a rough start to his schedule with Wichita and Grand Canyon, so good and glad that he got that monkey off his back. I'm sure there are going to be many more victories in his future.
Moving on, Upton Stout was officially invited to the Reese's Senior Bowl.
Yeah, that's big time news for him. That's big time recognition for him. That was a goal that he set for himself when he returned to this team. He wanted to be the leader of this defense, one of the focal points of this defense, and put himself in a position to go professional after this season. And getting invited to the Reese Senior Bowl, which is the premier postseason uh, just exposure bowl for players that want to make it to the NFL. He's going to be in front of a lot of NFL coaches, a lot of NFL scouts. He's going to have a chance to go up against some of the best competition from around the nation and make a name for himself even more so than he's already done. So definitely big time congrats to Upton. Well deserved.
Moving on, runners Mary Dye and Kinley Kunkel competed in the NCAA Cross Country Southeast Regional. Mary Dye finished 66th with a time of 23 minutes and 3 seconds, and Kinley Kunkel placed 87th with 22 minutes and 21 seconds.
Yeah, always awesome to have athletes representing us in NCAA meets. Not just conference championships, but when they advance to the NCAA regionals and nationals. We got to talk about Katie Eisenberger doing that in the high jump during this past outdoor track and field season. Now we have 2 runners that did it in cross country, so big time for them, and definitely congratulations and well done. Way to represent your team and your school.
Now, here's another one. It was Hank Plona's first D1 victory for the WKU Hilltoppers, or Western Kentucky Hilltoppers, and he beat Lipscomb 66-61 on Sunday in Diddle Arena.
Yeah, I kind of foreshadowed it earlier. There's going to be a lot more victories in Coach Plona's tenure here. Google him. All he does is win. That was a tough game, but that was a good Lipscomb team. That's a team that is projected to win their conference. They were tough. They battled with us, kept the game close, had the lead for a while, but we ended up at the end of the game pulling that out, stretching the lead out, and winning comfortably. So definitely glad and here for it.
And then coming up, the football team game versus Jacksonville State has been moved to ESPNU broadcast and will be now kicking off at 3 p.m. instead of 2:30.
Yeah, so that is our 7th nationally televised game of the football season, which is great. And then moving the kickoff from 2:30 to 3 o'clock means we get a little bit more time to tailgate. So I'm here for that. Should be a good time, hopefully good weather, and get ready for a big game that we need to win.
And with that, that concludes this week's Red Tower wrap up. Moff, back to you, sir.
Yeah, always a good recap. Just a lot of good information, a lot of good athletes and teams, a lot of victories, just good stuff to, I'm glad we get to shine light on every single week. But now we've got to dive into our recap of the recent homecoming game versus Louisiana Tech. It was, you couldn't have asked for a better day weather-wise on the hill, especially for homecoming in the middle of November. It was 60 plus degrees and sunny outside. The tailgating area was great. A lot of people were there, but there was nothing but disappointment once I walked into the stadium, quite frankly. And it started with the attendance. The announced attendance for the game was 13,312 people. And, that feels pretty right because it did not look very great. But I also looked over to the tailgating area and they were still out there. I don't know why they didn't come into the stadium, but just, perfect football weather, big game, one that we needed to win. We needed that home field advantage, but they didn't come in the game. So, but the ones that did come into the game, watched Western Kentucky lose the game by a score of 7-12. We now have dropped to an overall record of 7-3. We are 5-1 in conference. We still control our destiny, though. If we want to make the conference championship game, if we want to host the conference championship game, we've got to win our next 2 games coming up versus Liberty and Jacksonville State. So it just feels like that road's got a little bit tougher, especially as we have a couple of the top rushing offenses in the conference remaining on our schedule. Tyler, before we jump into the details of the game, what are your just overarching thoughts of this game and how it played out, the environment, just everything?
So, start with the environment. I was at work. I was sweating because I had a pullover on that day, a heavy pullover, but I had a Western shirt underneath it. So, I was still repping the red and white. But whenever I was watching on TV, you could see from the broadcast that there was a whole lot of empty stands in the seats, or empty seats in the stands. I saw a Twitter post, and it was like saying, "Tell those people that's outside in tailgate area to come inside." And I feel like that's kind of versus Kansas State game, we had fans leave the concert instead of coming inside into the stands. You had in here homecoming, a lot of people are still outside drinking, tailgating, partying, rather than being in there supporting the football team. I wish they would have came in. It would have been a whole lot better. Maybe got a more hostile home environment, but 13,000, it is what it is. The game, gosh, that was hard to watch. It was very painful to me. I may have said some words I shouldn't have said. I was watching it, like I said, watching on TV at work, in between checkouts and everything, but it seemed like everything that could have went wrong did go wrong. Our total yards abysmal compared to what we normally have. And it just, I hope that Liberty and Jackson State didn't watch that game or watch tape on that game and say, this is how we beat them right here. I don't know if it's just an off day for the team. That's what I'm chalking it up to, but that was really hard to watch after what we've seen the rest of this season, to kind of have a letdown like that this late in it.
Yeah, want to talk about the game and just how it played out. Just really disappointing. We only scored 7 points in the game, just not our best showing. But at the same time, you have to give hats off to Louisiana Tech. They came in with a really good defense and a really good game plan, and they executed, and they won that ball game. So we got the ball first. We opened the game with a 3-and-out on our first series, and actually on our first two series, while Louisiana Tech had a field goal on their first possession to go up 3-0. On our third possession, we were able to answer back with an Elijah Young touchdown. He bounced out the right side, went into the corner of the end zone. That made the score 7-3. On Louisiana Tech's next two possessions, they got field goals to take a 9-7 lead, and one of those possessions was extended by roughing the kicker penalty on a punt attempt that extended their drive. Instead of them punting the ball to us, they ended up getting a free 15 yards and an automatic first down, went down and hit a field goal. And we ended the first half with two consecutive 3-and-out punts. We went into halftime with a 9-7 score, Louisiana Tech leading. Second half, Louisiana Tech opened the half with a punt, and then we went on a 14-play, 63-yard drive where we got all the way down to the Louisiana Tech 5-yard line, still down 9-7 at this point. But instead of taking the points and kicking the field goal, we kind of pulled a head scratcher and decided to go for it there on fourth down, trying to get that first down, get into the end zone. Had a quarterback sneak attempt by Caden, lost 2 yards and didn't convert. But luckily, we were still able to hold Louisiana Tech to a 3-and-out, after we didn't convert, and they were forced to punt to us. But that was the punt return when returner Katie Hutchinson muffed the punt, and Louisiana Tech was able to recover it. So again, had a punt opportunity and lost possession when we fumbled it. When they got the ball back, they were able to add another field goal to go up 12-7. Then we went 3-and-out, and we punted it back to Louisiana Tech, who went into field goal range, but we were able to get a block to give us the ball back with the chance to take the lead with 1:47 to go. We picked up 25 yards on the first play to get onto plus side of the field, but then we had a couple incomplete passes. We took a bad sack by Caden Belkamp, and then a couple deep shots to Dalvin Smith. Everything fell incomplete. We just couldn't get it together. He turned it over on downs. Only had one timeout remaining, and that was the ball game, man. It was just a head scratcher of a ball game. I don't think anyone foresaw us only scoring 7 points. Or if you would have said, hey, you're going to hold Louisiana Tech to 12 points. They're not going to score a touchdown. They're only going to kick 4 field goals in this game. you would have liked our chances. Like, hey, we're probably gonna, we probably win that game if our defense does that and holds somebody to 12 points. We should win that ball game. But just offensively, we just couldn't put it together, couldn't get anything done, couldn't get out of our own way with the possession, the penalties, turnovers, just self-inflicted wounds, man. Tyler, what are your thoughts on the game and just how it played out? And it wasn't pretty. What were your thoughts on it?
Well, I will say if one thing stood out to me that was a plus on this day, it would be our red zone defense. Allowing them to just score 12 points off of field goals. That's one thing that I will take away as a check mark. The rest of it, yikes. Who would have thought that they would have held Caden to 152 passing yards? And I was listening to Randy on the call. Louisiana Tech in the second half only threw 3 passes. That was it. They ran every other play. That's crazy to me. But if you look at time possession, like we're going to later, you can kind of see how they did it. Because that's crazy to me. But you're right. I would not have expected us to be held to 7 points. There was some questionable coaching calls made that, if they see you stopping, if you see them stopping our run, maybe do a quick pass or a slant or something. Don't try to run it because they're going to stop it. They held us to an average of 2.9 yards per rush. To me, that's unbelievable. Receiving 8.4 yards. At least Cole Maynard got a lot of practice this game because he got it. We forced them to punt a few times, but really, mistakes cost us. It was great to see Jose Wheeler come up and block that kick. And I was thinking, man, if Davin would have went just a yard or two longer on that last catch that he got when it was fourth and I can't remember the yardage. I think it was like 4th and 20, right?
4th and 15.
4th and 15. If he'd have just went 16 yards, just one more yard downfield, that would extend the drive. We could have possibly won that game. I think there's still just under a minute left. With our offense, I think we could have made it, but that's just how the cookie crumbles. I'd like to be able to play this one again. I feel like it would be different, but I feel like some teams, they tend. I feel like we tend to drop the ball at least one game, a season and a game that we should have won, and I hope this is the only game that we drop.
Yeah, I hope we got that out of our system. Let's look at some of the stat leaders in this game. Our leading passer was Caden Veltkamp. He was 18 of 26 for 152 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. Elijah Young was our leading rusher. He had 10 carries for 24 yards and our only points of the game with his rushing touchdown. Then Keyshawn Johnson was our leading receiver. He had 4 catches for 40 yards. Bryce Childress was our second leading receiver with 3 catches for 38 yards. And then Elijah Young had 4 catches for 21 yards. Defensively, our leaders were Darius Thomas with 10 tackles, 7 solo, 1 tackle for loss. Chandler Matthews had 8 tackles, 5 of those were solo, 1 for loss. Sebastian Benjamin had 8 tackles, 4 of those were solo, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. And then Deontay McCray had a sack in the game. And you mentioned Cole Maynard, kind of got back to his usual self. He had 5 punts on the day for a 45.2 yard average. So definitely like to see that number in the mid 40s. What we were used to seeing from him most of the season. Now, Tyler, before we jump into the key indicators and grades, just what are your thoughts on, some of these guys and just how they played and the stats they put up? Anybody else stand out to you?
Well, as you said, Chandler Benjamin, he had a good game. I remember his first drive of the second half for La Tech. He had a quarterback sack, and then he had a stop, which forced him to punt the ball. That was amazing. Up to stout, he had 8 total tackles. DeMarco Williams, 5 total tackles. 5 total tackles, 2 solo. 1 tackle for loss. Anthony Johnson Jr., he had 2 pass deflected, 4 total tackles, 3 solos, and he had 1 tackle for loss. And Dante McCray, he came up 3 total tackles, 2 solo, 1 sack, and 1 tackle for loss. I mean, the guys did all right, but really it was that red zone that really surprised me. And I know we have a good red zone defense. Looking at offense, rushing attack was kind of pedestrian at best. I know La Tech has a really good defense, probably the best we're going to see in Conference USA. I think they're ranked at the top, but I still didn't think Elijah Young would be held to 24 yards. George Hart, he came through. He had 3 carries, 15 yards. He busted through for a few yards. He also had I could have sworn I thought he received it. Had a couple receptions, but Elijah 4 receptions, 21 yards. But man, I mean, it was just mistakes, and it just seemed like the offense couldn't catch a flow, and they just couldn't really get into a rhythm. And I just wish they could have, because this is a game that we should have won and we could have won.
Yeah, I mean, when you hold La Tech to punts twice, and you essentially give them the ball right back, whether it's a penalty or it's a fumbled, muffed punt, that's hard to overcome. Maybe one of those we could have overcome, but both of them, on top of just struggling offensively, that we gift wrapped them the field position and essentially 6 points on those 2 plays. And then couple that with not going for the field goal when we, were down within the 5-yard line. Just a rough game. Let's jump into the key indicators before we jump into grades. First downs for the game, WKU had 12, Louisiana Tech had 18. Third down conversions, WKU was 3 out of 11, Louisiana Tech was 2 out of 11. So neither one of us really scorching earth there. Total yards, you mentioned this earlier, WKU with only 215. Louisiana Tech had 275, and 209 of those were rushing. So, yeah, definitely, kind of spotting an Achilles heel now with this WKU defense. Even though they're doing good things, holding people to, point-wise to a low total, those rushing yards are starting to add up. Turnovers, WKU had 1 on that botched punt return that we fumbled. Louisiana Tech had 0. And then time of possession, WKU had the ball for 20 minutes and 22 seconds, while Louisiana Tech had the ball for 39 minutes and 38 seconds. Almost a 2-to-1 advantage there. It just kind of shows the success they had the ball, running the ball, keeping the ball out of our offense hands, even though we weren't really do anything offensively, but we definitely couldn't do anything if we were sitting on the sideline. So hats off to them, kudos to them for the game plan, for being just really tough defensively and coming out and executing. And they wanted it more and got out there with a victory. So hats off to Louisiana Tech. Now let's jump into some grades. Tyler, what have you got for the Hilltopper offense versus Louisiana Tech? Muted.
Sorry about that. I forgot to unmute myself. I mean, crap. 215 total yards, 152 yards passing, 63 yards rushing. I'm going to have to go with, C- on this one. I mean, I don't want to give them a D. A D on this, man. I'm going to have to.
Yeah, I'm also going with a D. I mean, the offense just wasn't good enough. I mean, 1 touchdown on the day. Just, couldn't. When you can't score points, you're not gaining a lot of yards. Just probably the worst time to have our, worst offensive game of the season, I guess. We control our destiny. We need to win out, and we lose a game to a 3-win team in Louisiana Tech, which, granted, don't get me wrong, they were a decent and good team. They've lost some close games and could be better than their record shows, but just offensively didn't get it done. So I'm giving them a D as well. What about your grade for the defense?
Oh gosh, once again, red zone, awesome. But you had their running back on 17 carries, 103 yards. That was Givens. Wiggins had nine carries, 70 yards. Dang. I guess I'm going to give them a C on this.
I'm gonna grade them a little bit on a curve, and I say that to say this: they didn't allow a touchdown. They only gave up 12 points. They were on the field for 40 minutes of this ball game. 2/3 of the ball game, they were on the field. They had to be gassed. They were tired, and the offense just didn't help them out. So I'm grading them on a curve for that reason. I'm gonna give them a B. Most games, a lot of games that should win the ball game. 290 rushing yards is a lot, but it didn't turn into 6 points for them. It turned into field goals. We were in a position defensively that we could have and should have won that ball game. What about your grade for coaching?
This is another one that I kind of doubted some of coaches' calls, like on 4th and 1, and they stop your run all day. Your bread and butter is your pass. Do a fake a run and just pass a quick slant or something. And I thought the coach, you go in at halftime, and I granted they are up, but I mean not by much, by 2. You figured, hey, we might be able to drop a play to stop the run, because in that first half we only had the ball for 10 minutes. They had it for the rest of the time, 29 minutes or 19 minutes. I mean, you would think that the coaches would have drawn up or schemed or something like, hey, let's guarantee that they're going to run the ball. At least once you seen them do it for most of the second half, you thought, hey, we have got to figure out something to contain this run and to get our offense back on the field. They didn't. I'm going to give them a D on this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I think the coaches didn't do a good enough job of putting our players in position to be successful. Not taking the points on that 4th and 1. At the 5-yard line in a game that's 9-7 at the time. It looks like points are going to be at a premium. Every single field goal, touchdown, whatever you can get, is going to increase your odds of winning. And we just, we decide to go for the jugular more than just the safe route. And we just didn't execute offensively. I mean, we had 5 3-and-outs in the game. We had that penalty on the punt. We had a muffed punt, just sloppy play. And, players play and coaches coach. But, all the bad things are going to fall back on coaching. That's, Helton will say it in the press conference. I made that decision. That was my call. We went for it and we didn't convert. If he converts it, he looks like a genius, but we didn't. And we lose a game that, if we kick that field goal in hindsight, that final drive of the game, we're in Lucas range. He could have lined up from, once we crossed the 50, he's got the leg to hit that. So, hindsight's always 20/20, but the coaches definitely get a D on this one. Just not a good performance offensively. Defensively was good enough, but just didn't get it done. What about your grade for special teams?
I just want to say one more thing about that, coaches and what Coach Helton said. That's right. And this season, I feel like he's being more aggressive on them type of plays, because this ain't the only game that we've won on it on 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and we just didn't get it. I think we did it against MTSU. I know we did it against Boston College, and we ended up losing that game. I do kind of like the aggressiveness of it, but I think it's very situational. And if you seen what they're doing all day, you're right. You look like a genius if you do end up breaking that. But we just didn't end up doing it. Special teams. Cole Maynard did a great job. 5 punts, 226 yards for him, along with 48. Dude was bombing it down there. Lucas Canario really didn't see the field. He got 1 point on that. Katie Hutchinson muffed that punt. Man, I hate to see, Cole Maynard and Lucas Canario do a good job for what they're out there for, and then that muff punt really bring it down. But it's going to have to, and not including that roughing the kicking penalty. But we did block that field goal. Gosh, I'm going to go C- on this.
Yeah, I'm going with a C. 2 positives you mentioned. We did have the block field goal. That's great to see. Cole Maynard had a good punting day, 45-yard average. That's great to see. The roughing the kicker penalty was just a heartbreaker. And then the muff punt, obviously something you can't have. Both of those errors led directly to points. Led to field goals that help extend that lead for Louisiana Tech. So the 2 positives, the 2 negatives, they wash out for me. So I'm gonna give them a C as well. What about your grade for the fans?
Well, since I wasn't there, I could just see what was on TV. Like I said, a whole lot of empty seats, and then seeing that picture where a lot of people were still outside tailgating. That's really not a good look for us. I get it. You're there. You're having fun tailgating. Go in, see the game, and carry that party inwards and make it a great environment. I'm going to give them a B on this.
You're nicer than I am because 13,000. There's probably 4 or 5 more thousand still out tailgating. I'm gonna give them a D. The ones that showed up were loud and engaged, but we got to get more people in the stadium on a 60+ degree sunny Saturday in mid-November. I mean, no excuse not to have 17, 18,000 there. They were on campus. They were hanging out, having fun. Homecoming. But just not inside the stadium, and that just that's going to impact that grade. So I'm gonna give him a D. What about your overall grade for this game?
Oh gosh, D, C. I think I had a B in there. I'm just going to go flat C on this one, or no, C-. Overall, screw it. I'll go D. It was a terrible day to be it was a terrible day to watch that game. Like I said, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Only just a few bright spots. I mean, yes, we did hold them to no touchdowns. So that's always a great day. But, dude, just the entire feeling of the game just pissed me off. Had me yelling. The dude was sitting there with me in the office in between checkouts. And, I mean, the look on his face whenever something happened, and I took to yelling, questioning. I mean, it was really miserable for me to sit there and watch that. I just felt terrible about it.
Yeah, I'm also going with a D. Not a good performance all around. I mean, you can point to some positives or some good things that we did in the game, but ultimately we scored 7 points. Didn't do enough offensively. Didn't put together. But 2 good drives. One of those was 0 points, and one of them we scored a touchdown. Just shot ourselves in the foot too many times. Didn't play clean football like we have been playing. Even though we didn't have a lot of penalties, it's the timing of the penalties that just killed us in any momentum we had or opportunities we had to extend drives and score points. So bad game. Like I said earlier, I hope we got it out of our system. And now we turn our sights onto our upcoming game with Liberty this coming Saturday on November 23rd. The game is in Lynchburg, Virginia. It is a 12 p.m. kickoff. The game will be on ESPN Plus. We enter the game with a 7-3 overall record. We are 5-1 in conference. Liberty is 7-2 overall. They are 4-2 in Conference USA play. WKU opened this game as a 1-point underdog, and now the line has moved to WKU at -1 as a 1-point favorite. The over-under is at 57.5. The ESPN matchup predictor is near a coin flip. It favors WKU at 54.5% with 45.5% to Liberty to win. Liberty does lead the overall series 4-0. So Western has never beaten Liberty in football. And the most recent game we played last year in Bowling Green was a 42-29 Liberty victory. So, Tyler, before we jump into this game and preview, what are just your overall thoughts on Liberty coming into this game?
I don't like them. I just don't like them. But this, to me, this isn't the Liberty of last year. They're allowing 351.4 yards per game, which I think they allowed a little bit less last season. I think they're better on stopping the run this year, so that benefits us. They're only allowing 23.9 points per game, and they don't even crack the top 5 in sacks. So I feel like this will be a good game for us to get our kind of get that pep in our step back. This is going to be a hard one, though. It's going to be a hard fought game. These guys ain't going to take kindly to us coming in there. It's senior day for them. This is a very proud football program. I feel like this will be a win for Western, but it is going to be a fist fight.
Yeah, it's definitely not the Liberty team of last year when they just rolled through the conference and went to that NY6 Bowl and just had an amazing season. They definitely have been beatable this year, and we don't like them. On the field of play for 60 minutes, we do not like them. But we did get a couple guys that we do like. We got Ben Reynolds and Jeremiah Flinchum from the Fan the Flames football podcast. Also, members of the CUSA Roundtable that we've been doing, bi-weekly episodes. We got them to join us and talk about some Liberty football. So let's go to that interview right now. All right, and we're joined by Ben and Jeremiah from the Fan the Flames football podcast. Obviously conference mates of ours and also members of the CUSA Roundtable. Guys, we appreciate y'all joining the show, and thanks for joining.
Good to be here.
Yeah, happy to be here. Excited for this game. If you guys didn't watch the podcast roundtable, Moff and I have already been getting at it already, so excited to talk.
Yeah, the gloves are coming off on this interview. Sorry. No, obviously, guys, though, you all came into this season with high expectations. After last season, you're undefeated in your conference slate. Ranked in the top 25. Went to the Fiesta Bowl against Oregon. But this year, I think it's safe to say at this point in the season that the results on the field have really been a mixed bag, really been inconsistent play, and then including, losing a couple games to Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State. So what would you all say are the contributing factors to the Liberty team's struggles this season?
Ben, you want to go first?
All right. I'll kick this one off.
I'll defer the second half.
Okay, sounds good. Well, there's a lot of reasons. The quarterback that we thought we had in the larger perception of everything isn't the quarterback that was what everybody thought. I don't even know if that makes any sense. It just it's been really, really surprising to some folks. It hasn't surprised me, and not to be anything. I know I talked a lot of talk early on in the podcast roundtable and stuff. I did think by a large margin he was still the most talented, and I thought that he was going to make a step forward, but he's regressed. And that's regressed in the sense of stats. He's still been the same quarterback that he was last year. He's just doesn't have a amazing offensive line and run game that led the nation and to just take over a game and then pack the boxes, and then he has wide open receivers. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember last year's game in Western Kentucky. Both teams had some blown coverages because of just mismatches and things of that nature. I don't expect that to happen again this year. The defense is another problem, and everybody's going to point toward the defensive staff. No, this is just a very young team with a lot of inexperience, with some of these players only in their second year and so many games being played at a real level. We had a great transfer portal class with a lot of great names of high school players that came from that were 4 stars and high 3 stars that went to very good schools. But guess what? They didn't get any playing time there. So it doesn't really matter. Experience and all that stuff matters more than just talent. So I'm really excited to see what the future looks like. But right now, it's looking really rough for these last 2 games, especially with the showing on Saturday. And there's a lot of fingers to point everywhere. It's not just one. So,
Anything to add, Jeremiah?
Yeah, so everything he said is very accurate. My 3 biggest things were, one, penalties. I think at one point we may still be, but at one point we were the most penalized team in the nation. It seems like every time that we get good momentum going on offense or defense, getting a stop, for instance, we have a penalty, just completely unnecessary roughness, a unsportsmanlike conduct, a bad PI, holding, whatever it may be. Penalties have just killed us all season, killing our momentum. Injuries are the next thing. Our O-line was banged up all the first half of the year at least. We've had guys playing out of place in the offensive line. We've had, a star player in Juju Gray. He's been out for most of the season. He came back against Middle Tennessee and played lights out then, but, it's half the season that he missed there. So that was a big play or big key factor in that. And then third one was
All right,
I had some technical difficulties. I'm sorry.
I know you're cool. So Liberty did flirt with disaster a few times before finally falling to their first Conference USA foes. Later on in the season, have those losses been a wake up call to the fan base and the program?
I guess I'll take it first this time. Fan base, I think so. A lot of people are super unhappy with the season. Like we've got guys, we got fans again calling for Chadwell's head. I don't get it. This past basketball season, for instance, we had people calling for McKay's head. We had one quote down season, and they're like, "Oh, let's fire everybody." And now that we're 7-2, we're like, "Oh, let's fire Chadwell." Why? I don't get that. But as far as the team goes, it appeared to be a wake-up call for them. If you looked at the MTSU game, I went down to that game, and we seemed to play really well. It seemed like we cleaned up most of our issues, played a great game, but then go up against UMass and seemed to regress back into some of our old ways, some of our old issues. So I couldn't tell you for sure if it's been a wake-up call, but I'm hoping it is, because we're going to definitely need to wake up for this Saturday, because we cannot play anything like we've been playing most of the season against you guys, for sure.
Yeah, I'll take the next part of that to add on to that. I just want to piggyback off what Jeremiah said. It's funny this year, so many people's reactions. I grew up a Penn State fan, mind you, and we've never beaten Ohio State, it feels like, but we still win. But the thing is, he still wins, so they keep him around. Eventually, maybe he will beat him more than just once in 2016. And that's the thing. We got very blessed with our first season, where you're talking about a perfect season outside of the Fiesta Bowl, and people just think that's the standard. It's not. It's never been, and it never will be, because winning college football games is hard. Unless it'd be understandable if we were getting miles and miles way better talent than Western Kentucky and the rest. We're not. And that's the thing. We got to be patient, because there's a process to this recruiting. It doesn't just happen in 2 years, even with the portal, because like I just said before, your 4-star and 5-star recruits, and even your high 3 stars that come from these big programs, aren't going to always be hits just because they were in high school. No one cares about that anymore. You look at so many 0 stars that have made it to the NFL. No one cares about that. It's all about who you are and who you develop to be. And right now, not what you were in high school. And that's part of the problem with this expectation. is like, oh gosh, we got this huge, we get all these guys that are crazy. We got dudes type deal, and we don't because they're not producing. So or they're too young. And this is very different than basketball in my opinion, because you need 22 players to be great, and then your special team guys as well. This isn't basketball where you can just rebuild a roster in a year like we did this year and get 4 really good impact transfers, and then you could flip a whole team like I think we're doing right now. So it takes time. Football is different.
I think that's a perfect segue into my next question, because I think, the big names on your roster, the Caden Salters, the Quentin Coolies, I think everybody knows those guys. And between the two of you, I have a feeling you're going to touch on a lot of names here. So if you had to highlight 3 offensive players that Western Kentucky needs to be aware of, that's going to be out there on the field making plays for Liberty, hopefully for you all, who would you highlight, as the focal point of your offense this year?
I'll go. It's easy to pick Salter and Cooley, like, obviously. I'm not going to choose those two, though, because, yes, those are the obvious ones. They're ones that Western Kentucky fans should know. But I'm going to go with Juju Gray should be someone that to be watching out for. He didn't have much of a presence against UMass for whatever reason. Elijah Canyon is another guy, and I would say Bentley Hanshaw as well. Those are 3 guys that you got to really be looking out to, because I know if Jeremiah says anything, he'll probably say someone else too. So, but those are 3 guys that I'm hoping to step up in this game at least. I mean, we haven't had like a true number 1 all year, and it's been kind of wide receiver by committee. So mostly because of injuries, but we'll see what happens. But those are 3 guys that I hope can step up, because they're the guys in the passing game that we need to get going. The running back and running game should already be known. A lot of our key playmakers in that.
Yeah, the 3 that I had highlighted, obviously the bowling ball himself, Quentin Cooley, was my top guy. I mean, it's just a given there. But you also got to look out for Billy Lucas. He's our backup running back who can come in and he can run off some yards too. And then the third guy I was going to mention was also Juju Gray. Again, if he can come in and play like he did against MTSU, he's going to have a fantastic game. We should be fine. But again, I don't know if the injury kind of came back on him against UMass or whatever, but we'll see. Those are my 3 guys that I had picked. Didn't really have an honorable mention, but I should have came up with one because I felt like Cooley's a little bit too obvious, but it is what it is.
It's all good. Now we're going to flip the ball and highlight 3 defensive players that Western should know about.
Yeah, so TJ Bush would be one. He's been a guy last year, started as a true freshman. Coming into this year was expected to make an impact. He still has, but you can still see that he's young. That's the thing. Like, he's someone that's still developing, still getting a lot of his technique down. So he's someone that I'm really excited about. I'm going to go to the next level of the linebackers. He had a really good game against MTSU. I'd like to see him get some more playing time this round. Is Ethan Chris. He's a transfer from Vandy. He's a redshirt sophomore. He's a guy that's got a lot of promise. And I think in this type of situation where we're going to see a little bit more passing, he could be a player to play into this game plan on the defense. So I'm really excited to see what his factor is into this because, MTSU runs even though it's not completely similar, MTSU is a little bit more pass heavy as well. So he had a big impact on that. And then on the back end, I would have to say there's a couple of different guys, but I'm going to have to go with Brylan Green, mostly because, to be honest, this year he's had some injuries, but he's someone also, he had a great season last year, but he needs to step up. These next 2 games, he's going to have to be a leader. He's a junior now. He doesn't really have an excuse. He gave up baseball, his what seemed like was his first love for this game. He needs to be that guy and be the leader of this defense and really step up, because he's really kind of went MIA these past few games.
Yeah, so Ethan Crisp was actually going to be my honorable mention for defense. Actually, he had a great game against MTSU. But my three guys that I picked out were linebacker Joe Carter. He's been recognized as a player of the game recently, and he's just had a phenomenal season. I think he leads the team in tackles by a lot, I believe. Second guy is a DN, CJ Basil. He early in the season had the fumble return for a touchdown. He's been playmaker all season on the defensive side. And then I think Ben mentioned him as well, TJ Bush. He's a guy that's come in. He's still a young guy, but you couldn't tell he's a super young guy by the way he plays. He comes in, he just dominates off the end, and he's able to disrupt the backfield and pressure the quarterback and be all over and make a lot of plays. So those are my three guys.
Yeah, a lot of good names to look out for. Now, Tyler and I will give our keys to victory for Western Kentucky on the full version of this episode. But since we're looking at it from the Liberty perspective, we'd love to hear what you two guys think that Liberty has to do this coming weekend in Lynchburg to win this ball game.
Two of our biggest pain points all season, honestly, have been not holding onto the ball in like long drives like we did last year. That really had it gave us a lot of success last year. Yes, we had more explosive plays too, but we also dominated time of possession last year. So that's going to be huge, keeping the ball away from this Western Kentucky offense that, if you would have told me early on this year, I would have thought that they were the second best, and it was a very close second best. Now you guys, I believe, are truly the number one, and we're like maybe fifth or sixth, if not even lower. So that goes to that other part of that is stopping the explosive plays. Don't get me wrong, I do have a big fantasy matchup against March to the Pod this week, and Johnson is on my team. So I hope he has a good game. But I hope we also still beat you guys. Anyways, those two are huge. And then turnovers. Honestly, we got to get rid of our turnovers, and we need to commit some turnovers, because that's, again, going to help us with time of possession. With that, with time of possession, converting for first downs and being able to have a couple of those explosive plays. So, yeah, you do keep it a little bit more wide open, but of course we want to run the ball, So, and we haven't really done that this year. So, yeah, those are the three: time of possession, stopping the explosive plays, and limiting our turnovers.
Okay, so my three keys to victory are, excuse me, minimize penalties, because once again, he told us all year, if we had half the penalties on the season, we could have blown out some teams, but momentum killer, gotta stop it. Minimize penalties. 2, feed the bowling ball. Feed Quentin Cooley. It's been a big factor all season. We get away from Cooley. Seem to struggle a little bit more on offense, but as soon as we start feeding the ball again, we're getting 6-7 plus yards a game. So feed Cooley. And then third, Joker mask. Ben mentioned it, turnovers. Got to get the Joker mask out. That's my 3.
All right, now, like we're going to do with our keys of victory, we're also going to give a score prediction. But what is y'all's score prediction for this matchup?
I'll go first. I have hated doing score predictions all season long. I'm not going to lie. I think I've said it on our podcast the last couple of weeks. I've tried to stay away from it, but for the sake of you guys, I'll do it. My prediction is 37-35 Flames.
This is tough. I don't know if I'm going to do it because, I'm a biased homer. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can predict against this. It's a home game. It's senior day. especially for Caden Salter. I say Caden Salter, we drop a nice fat 28 on you guys, and it's 28-24 Flames. It's gonna be tough to pick against them, just because at some point we got to get better, right? At some point, right? It's like the Star Wars meme with with what is it, Padme? Yeah, Padme. Right, yeah, that feels like that right now.
I think both of those score predictions are respectable. I'm not going to tip my hand, and you're going to have to listen to our episode, the full episode, to get mine. But I think it'll be close to the range that y'all have, especially the margin is going to be close either way, whether I pick us to win or lose. Now, I know there's going to be quite a few Hilltoppers making the trip over there. I know I've heard people in my circle and just other fans on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. Unfortunately, I'm not making the trip over there, but for anyone listening, Hilltopper wise, that is making the trip over there. I know, I'm sorry, Jeremiah. Anybody that is making the trip to Lynchburg, what are some places, some local staples or tailgating areas, or just some places that you would recommend they stop in and check out while they're there?
We do actually have a local Staples, and it's right behind the stadium. It's funny you mention it. So if you guys need to get any office supply or anything while you're in town, please stop to our local Staples. I actually have to go there tomorrow. So anyways, there's a couple. Speaking of also behind the Williams Stadium is McAdoo's. That's always a good spot. But if you're looking for, I would say there's a top three for me. Benjamin's is over in Forest, and that's not at all associated to me. It's one of the best restaurants in Lynchburg. You got Iron and Ale, which is fantastic as well. I actually haven't been there very often. Bootleggers as well is good downtown. But if you're looking for some dessert, you got Sin City downtown and Rookies, and then also outside the Cone. Some for you sweet tooths.
You got some dessert in there. I didn't think about dessert. The drop of the ball on my part. Sorry. You mentioned one or two that I had written down. One that either I missed it from the fallout I had after that amazing joke you just made. Actually, do love it. County Smoke. Go visit my friend Ken over at County Smoke. It's not far from campus. It's on Timberlake Road. Fantastic barbecue. Amazing people. Please go support my friends.
You can also get it at the stadium too.
That is true. You can also get it at the stadium. But if you're someone like me, I don't really leave my seat, especially to get in really long lines, but it is what it is. Just please go out and support them. Iron and Ale, he mentioned that already. I love that place. RA Bistro is downtown. It's another really good place to eat. The Tea Room, it's a little bit controversial, I think, amongst the Lynchburg natives and people who are, it's up and down. It's a staple. Go to the one in Cornerstone, though. Don't go to the one downtown, because if you go to the one downtown, you might be a little bit, I don't know, maybe a little sketchy, maybe. Yeah, go to Cornerstone. See, more. Virginian Hotel Rooftop, downtown Lynchburg. It's a really good spot. Good food. Some Liberty-approved beverages. Definitely. And then I'm a huge coffee guy, so I have to throw out some good coffee recommendations. Go to Joe Bean's. It's a drive-through coffee spot, but it's fantastic. The Muse is another one. You can sit down there. It's got great food, great coffee, and then Mission House Coffee, owned by a personal friend of mine. So gotta shout out my friends. Go support them, please.
No, for sure. You gotta love helping your friends out. But before we let y'all go, plug y'all social medias, plug y'all stuff to where people can go find y'all and go listen to y'all's episodes.
At FTF Football Pod. We also have a basketball pod now, but we don't have a thing for that. And then at Flamesville, I think it's LU Flamesville. At LU Flamesville. Those are our two main things. I'm not on X much anymore because it's too distracting, and my job is too important if you're listening, my employer. Anyways, so I don't get on X much anymore. I do have a little tablet now, so I'm trying to stay on so I can interact with you guys and stuff. But yeah, I have that, and then I get on my laptop. So I still post here and there, but I don't really like when things are going around like Fire Chadwell, so I try to stay away from that.
Hi, my name is Jeremiah, and I have a social media problem. I'll admit it. Follow me, please.
Guys, we appreciate y'all for coming on. Spreading some information that we need to know about Liberty football. We wish y'all the best of luck this coming Saturday and obviously the rest of the season. And go Tops!
Go Tops!
Flames.
Really good interview. Really enjoy Ben and Jeremiah joining us and just talking Liberty football. Those guys obviously are more in tune with the team and just talking about some of the struggles they've had this year and just players to look out for that aren't named Caden Salter and Quentin Cooley. Always nice to hear some other names and what they think their keys to victory are for Liberty to win this ball game. Right now coming in as the underdog. So really appreciate those guys. Looking forward to a good football game this coming weekend. But now, Tyler, we're going to jump into our keys to victory. So what is your first key to victory to beat Liberty?
Definitely going to be stop the run. I'm going to hold on to that one because if you look at New Mexico State, they had two guys that really just gutted us. You look at La Tech. I mean, their run game kept them on the field for, you said, 40 minutes. That's crazy to me that we was not able to better contain them. And I feel like that's one thing we're going to have to do to win this game is to slow down Cooley, slow down Salter, and make them beat us through the air.
Yeah, I also have run defense as my number one key to victory. And I think more specifically, and I think I said it on their podcast when we joined them, I think we have to win on first and second downs. We can't go in and allow them 6 or 7 yards per carry every single first down to where it's 2nd and 3 or they're in 3rd and 1 situations where it's just easy conversions or they have a lot of different play options that they can call. Whether it's a run or a quarterback scramble or a short pass, play action, whatever it is, it really opens up the playbook when you're in those 3rd and manageable or 3rd and really short situations. So I think if we win on 1st and 2nd down and put them in, 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6 and plus situations, that's really going to help our defense as far as, okay, we know they're going to drop back and pass. It's going to give our D-line time to pin their ears back, go after their quarterback, make a play. Defensive backs are going to be playing a little bit tighter coverage, knowing that there's going to be a quick break. So we have to start on 1st down and 2nd down with our run defense. Tyler, what's your second key to victory versus Liberty?
All right, I'm changing it up from what we said on their podcast. I'm going to go with win the battle in the trenches because if you look at what we did in New Mexico State, we had 116 yards rushing versus La Tech, barely any. I feel like that was the difference in the game. If we could get our run game on point, that makes their defense kind of get back on their heels because they don't know what we're going to do. We may pass the ball, we may hand it off and run it. Hell, Velkamp may take it off and scamper for 5-10 yards, 5-6-10 yards. But it also allows us to get defensive pressure on Salter. And if we can get pressure back there on their quarterback, I mean, I feel like that's only going to benefit us more. But we also got to stop, like I said, stop their run because last year that is what killed us in this game at Houcher-Smith Stadium. So, yeah.
My second key to victory is going to be play cleaner football, and that's turnovers and penalties. I think, we highlighted in the recap of the Louisiana Tech game, penalty on a roughing the kicker. Then we also had the muffed punt turnover. Those immediately led to points. And in a game like this, which I think we're both going to project to be a very tightly scored game, where a field goal or a touchdown could be the difference in this ball game. You've got to play cleaner football. You've got to win that turnover battle. You've got to not shoot yourself in the foot with dumb penalties. They either extend drives or put yourself behind schedule when you're on offense. Whether it's a false start or whatever. So just play a cleaner and more disciplined football game versus Liberty. Tyler, what's your third key to victory?
I'm just going to kind of go with what you said and I said on the podcast on their episode. Don't shoot ourselves in the foot because just to echo what you said, yes, those two costly that penalty and then that turnover just led to them having 6 points. And if they didn't have them 6 points, we win that game. But we just can't be doing that. I mean, we've been we've been a clean team all season pretty much. And that watching him muff that punt was kind of reminded me a few years ago. I think we had a punt returner. I mean, it was multiple times that season that he ended up just fumbling a punt return. Other team would fall on it. They would continue their drive, but we definitely cannot keep doing that if we want to win these games, because the next two games going to be really hard. Probably the best teams that we've seen in conference. In fact, they are the best team we're going to be seeing in conference, other than a lot of Tech's defense. But definitely can't be doing that this upcoming game.
My third key to victory is I think we need to play our offense with more tempo. I think when we see when we get to the line quicker, aren't making substitutions and allowing the defense to substitute and slow just the game flow down. I think that's when we play our best, and just keep that ball moving, find those soft spots. A lot of times we really try to establish the run, and versus La Tech, it wasn't happening. So we should have leaned more on our pass play, and even using those running backs out of the backfield. We have two guys in George Hart and Elijah Young that can both catch the ball very well out of the backfield, and that's going to help soften up a defense. Make the linebackers play sideline to sideline, and open up that middle of the field for crossing routes or just dig routes, whatever it may be, and really make them defend all the whole field from sideline to sideline. That's to go play in tempo. That's going to open up the run game, which is then going to open up the deep passing game. It's complementary offensive football, but it all starts with playing tempo, getting on the ball, hiking the ball. Don't let the defense get set. See what you're trying to play and call. Play Hilltopper football, because 7 points ain't going to get it done, certainly versus Liberty on their senior day. So we've got to get out there, be aggressive, and put points on the board. Football 101, I know, but we've got to do it. Tyler, who is your MVT versus Liberty?
Can I do a most valuable position? Okay, I'm going to do that. To me, it's going to be running backs, because I think if Elijah Young and George Hart, first of all, I want to see George Hart just truck multiple people this game. I would love to see him just run over multiple guys and just get them extra yardage and a touchdown. But it's going to depend on Elijah and George to be able to free up our pass game. I feel like, because Liberty they're a good team. Yes, they lost Kennesaw State, but do you think they just rolled over that loss? No, they use it as fuel to get better. And I feel like our offense is high-powered, and if they don't drop 7, 8 into defense and only rush 3 or 4, I feel like because they know we're going to pass the ball. If we can run the ball, then that's only going to benefit us more. So the running back core is going to be my MVP this week.
I'm going to go with Caden Veltkamp, and I say that because he's now settled in. Tyson Helton has named him still the starting quarterback, as TJ Finley is back and available, and is ready to play if needed, whether it be via gameplay or injury or just whatever reason to put him back out there. But Caden Veltkamp has played very well for this team. He just had his worst outing as a starter, missed some throws, made some reads that weren't there, just didn't lead this offense the way he had since the Middle Tennessee game when he came in due to TJ's injury. So I think Caden, I'm sure he's going to be his own worst enemy and his own worst critic and be in the film room dissecting what went wrong and what could have been better from a execution and ball placement and just um, game leadership position that he's in, because he's touching the ball every single snap. And I think he's going to bounce back and have a really solid game against Liberty. Multiple touchdowns, flirting with 300 yards. That's the kind of game we're going to need from him to go over to Lynchburg, Virginia, and get this victory. Which leads us, Tyler. What is your score prediction for this Liberty football game?
All right, so kind of like I said earlier on their episode, I'm going to use the exact same one that I picked preseason. I'm just going to flip the numbers. This was one of I think the only 2 losses I had on the season for us. We lost, and I'm going to change it to we win 35-31. We absolutely just destroy their hopes and their happy senior day activities.
Yeah, I also have a really a little bit higher scoring, but a really close ball game. I have WKU winning by a score of 38-35. So definitely a high scoring ball game. I think we said the over under was 56 or 57.5. So we're going over that, and we're getting off that, only scoring 7 points. But we're going to need the offense to show up. The defense is going to have a grind out game. This is going to be a big test for them, especially on the rush defense side of things. But I'm here for it, man. We've got to get that Liberty monkey off of our back. We've yet to beat them in a football game. Granted, it's just one game in Conference USA. Then we played them in 2020, I believe it was, when they had Malik Willis. So 2 pretty recent games we played them and have lost. And this is just as good an opportunity to beat them as ever. We've seen them struggle all season. They struggled versus UTEP. They struggled versus FIU. They struggled versus UMass in their most recent game. I mean, this is a winnable game. This is a game that we can absolutely go there and win and control our destiny, win this game, put it behind us, get ready for Jacksonville State, which is going to be a test. And quite frankly, is probably going to be a game of who's hosting this championship. Is it going to be in Alabama, or is it going to be in Bowling Green, Kentucky? And I know where we want it. I want to be there here in Bowling Green. So, you've got to start with this first game first. And Liberty's the next game. We've got to clean it up and obviously play better football than we did against Louisiana Tech. That game is over and done with now. Learn from it, grow from it, and get better. And let's go win a ball game. Tyler, hit us with your final words and take us on out.
Yeah, this Liberty team's it ain't going to be easy to control them, but it's doable. I mean, if Kennesaw State can do it, now granted they won by 3 points. If UTEP can contain their offense, if New Mexico State can contain their offense, granted by New Mexico State still lost, but they only held them to 30 points. UTEP held them to 28 points. And then they end up losing Kennesaw State, Jack State. I feel like this is this is a game we can win, but like I said earlier, it's going to be hard. It's going to be a huge test for both sides, all 3 units of our football program. But it really is going. It's going to be a good game, guys. We got to put the La Tech game behind us. La Tech really probably ain't going to do nothing. I mean, there's a chance they might go bowling, but who knows? This right here could be their Super Bowl. It did kind of piss me off, though, to watch them do the Zombieland celebration. After I think they got an interception or something, or no, it wasn't an interception. It was like a turnover on downs or something. I can't remember. But to watch him run off the field doing the Zombieland, I was like, dude, you ain't us, all right? You ain't him. But I mean, I'm still going to cheer for WKU. It's just been hard since Saturday having to watch that game and having to think about it and look up the stats of it. I mean, it was bad, but we got to put that off our back. Look forward to Liberty, and then only focus on Liberty, because I mean, really, that's all that matters right now. And their running back and their quarterbacks they're good. I mean, that's plain and simple. They didn't go to the New Year's Six Bowl for nothing last season. The coaches were good, quarterback was good, running back was good, QB was good, running back was good. But I feel like our defense is playing great. Our defense is good, and our defense can contain them. Offense shows up. I feel like this will be a close game, but Tops still win it. So with that, Moth, who has it better than us, bro?
Nobody, buddy. You know it.
You know, go Tops.
Go Tops. Later, guys.
See you.